Hi friends, my name is Anita and I am with Maine Project Learning Tree. Today we're going to be doing a lesson called Forest for the Trees, and this lesson will focus on how people decide to manage their forest land. I'm coming to you from the China School Forest in China, Maine, and it's one of my favorite forests. Do you have a favorite forest area? If so, how do you like to use your forest? Do you hike or ski there? Are there interesting animals, wildlife or birds who live in your forest? Do you hunt for berries or mushrooms? Maybe your forest is also used like mine is, for making wood products. Today I want to share some interesting ways people make decisions about how their forest will grow, depending on what they want to use it for. Let's start by thinking, what are some of the ways people might change a forest or manage it for purposes they have in mind? They might take out some or all of the trees in an area depending on what they want to be growing there. And in some cases, they might even just leave it as it is. There are lots of different choices and reasons for how people take care of their land. My favorite area, the China Schools Forest, is owned by my town, so it's used in many different ways. In some cases, all at the same time in one area. One of our goals as a tree farm here at the China Schools Forest is to teach our visitors about some of the different ways to manage how things grow in a forest. That includes deciding which kinds of trees to grow in the different areas, and how old and how close together or far apart those trees should grow. We use a fancy name for this scientific way of deciding about how to grow trees. It's called silviculture. In all of the areas I'll show you, we're managing for forest products and also for other purposes like for wildlife. There are many demonstration areas at the China School Forest, and I'll show you some in this video. After we're done, you may recognize some of these silvicultural systems in your own neighborhood forests. At the end, you'll learn about an investigation that you can try in your garden or even outdoors. What do you notice about this area? What type of tree do you see? Do you see one species or a variety? If you look closely, all these trees are in nice, neat rows, and they are all the same kind of tree, red pine. We planted them in 1998, and this is the only area in the China Schools Forest where we decided to bring in and plant specific trees rather than allowing natural tree regrowth. This stand of trees is called a plantation silvicultural system. Why might someone decide to grow trees in this way? If you want to make a certain type of wood product that can be made out of fast-growing trees, it's very efficient to plant all one kind of tree so that when they are full grown, you can bring in a machine and harvest them all at the same time. Once these trees are harvested, more trees can be planted to replace them. In our area, we actually thinned out this plantation in March 2020 by taking out trees that weren't red pines. Plus, we removed any extra red pines that were overcrowded. Now the trees that are still here can grow better because their needs for sunlight, water, nutrients, and space will be more easily met. It's good to know that the trees we cut and left on the ground will decay and provide nutrients for the remaining trees. They're also great hiding places for small animals like snowshoe hare. One challenge in a plantation system like this is if pests or disease arrive and wipe out all the trees in a short amount of time. This can happen when all the trees are the same type and age. So it's important to keep an eye on your forest as it is growing. What do you notice about this area? What types of trees do you see? Do you think they're all about the same age? Why are there lots of cut trees lying on the ground? This area is called a seed tree silvicultural system. Maybe you noticed there are only two main species of trees here, eastern white pine and white birch. You may have noticed there are a few large white pines. Why might someone grow trees this way? Our goal for managing this area was to produce large, high-quality logs for a future harvest. About 25 years ago, the only trees that were left standing after the harvest were these large white pines. Everything else was removed. We did this to let a lot of sunlight reach the ground so that the seeds that were in the soil could sprout or germinate and grow. This is what happened here. And those seedlings have been growing here for the last 25 years into the trees that you see now. In March 2020, we thinned out the trees in this area, leaving behind the ones that were growing tall and straight so that they could become high-quality logs. This is another view of the white pine and white birch seed tree area. But if I scan over here, you'll see a different section of our seed tree area. What do you notice here? Yes, there are many trees here. A part of the seed tree stand was left unthinned. This is a research project. Over the next 20 or 30 years, we will be able to compare what happens when a forest is thinned and when a forest is left for natural growth to occur. It will be interesting to see the differences between how these two areas change in the future. Here we are in another demonstration stand. What do you notice here? How many different types of tree species do you see? Do you think these trees are all the same age? This stand of trees is a shelterwood silvicultural system. I notice a lot of different tree species. There's also a lot of different ages, mature trees, saplings, and lots of other ages in between. Why might someone grow trees this way? Well, when this area was harvested about 25 years ago, some larger trees were left behind on purpose to shelter the younger trees that were also growing here, protecting them from the wind and the hot sun that might dry them out. Over the future years, some of these trees will be thinned out in this area, and eventually the area will mostly be an even-aged stand of large, valuable trees ready to be harvested. How does this area look different from what we've seen so far? This area was harvested in March 2020. What do you notice about the types of trees and the ages of the trees? Do you notice there's a lot of trees and they seem to be different ages? There's also a fair amount of diversity of species. This area is a single tree silvicultural selection system. Why might someone grow trees this way? Our local forester, who helps us make decisions about how to manage the China Schools Forest, examined this area and decided that the best thing to do would be to judge each tree individually. Mature trees that were ready to make good forest products, as well as unhealthy trees and crowded trees, were all removed during the March 2020 harvest. This opened up spaces for new tree seedlings to grow. Plus now, the already growing trees have more space and sunlight to grow quickly. This single tree system favors species that thrive in lower sunlight conditions. You know the questions by now. What do you notice here? Is there a variety of trees? Are they the same or different species? Are they all about the same age? What else is unique about this area? Here you are looking at another area that was harvested in the beginning of 2020. In this area, there were a lot of mature and over-mature fir trees. They were very crowded and many were dying. Our forester decided that the best thing to do here was to use a group selection silvicultural system. We removed groups of fir trees to create small pockets of cleared areas. Why might someone grow trees this way? Our goal is to leave behind a variety of tree species and a variety of ages while still leaving some spaces for new trees to grow in the cleared areas. In this area, we did some thinning and harvesting, so there's a fair amount of debris left on the ground. This was a good idea because the logging equipment could ride on top of the debris during the harvest and prevent ruts and other soil disturbance. These remaining tree branches and tops are a great place for forest decomposers to live. Small worms and insects, mushrooms and lichen can all thrive in this debris. In a few years, the new growth will provide habitat for white-tailed deer, snowshoe hare, and many bird species. Some people may think this is just a messy forest floor, but this small area will become a rich and diverse area in a very short time. What do you notice in this area? Fallen trees? Puddles of standing water? More shrubby plants. This area is typically very wet year-round, so we're leaving it unharvested, now and in the future. Wet areas in the forest are amazing places for plant and animal diversity. We also do not want to disturb the soil and cause erosion. Sometimes the best use for a forest stand is to just let nature take its course. I hope you enjoyed your tour of the China School Forest and have learned about forest silviculture, the idea of making forest management decisions based on your goals for an area. When you look around a forest by your school or your home, see if you can figure out what system might be demonstrated in your area. These books can be a great resource to give you more information about silvicultural systems and how landowners can manage their forest for a variety of uses. We have Trees in My Forest by Bernd Heinrich, Reading the Forested Landscape by Tom Wessels, Christmas Tree Farm by Sandra Jordan, Fire! The Renewal of a Forest by Celia Godkin, Shelterwood by Susan Hand Shetterly, Seeking the Wolf Tree by Natalie Clevitt. So here is your challenge. Get some flower seeds. Find a small space in your garden or yard to create your own forest garden. If you don't have space outside, you can use a small plastic tub and some potting soil. You might want one seed package that has only one flower variety and another package that has a collection of different flowers. Come up with a plan using some of the silvicultural systems we talked about today. What do you think will happen in your flower forest? Make some predictions and then record what happens. Make sure to share it with your teacher, your state project learning tree coordinator, or family members. Who knows? Maybe one day you will become a forester or a tree farmer too.